We're good.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the Wrecking Crew Comedy Podcast with Vito D'Amico and
Mark Arts.
And we've got a special guest today, incredibly talented man. Hopefully the signal doesn't fuck up like it's done about 8 times. Person I've tried to get him on here, I don't know, about 10 times. I keep bothering him. Finally, he said, "All right, fuck it."
Yeah, just to make you go away.
I'll just do it. Very, very. He's got a great show that I watch all the time. It's called Talking Shit Tuesdays, and it's Mr. JD Kain is here with us. Say hi, JD.
Hey, everyone.
Hey.
He's thrilled.
Yeah.
He's absolutely beside himself.
Yeah.
Just going, why?
The levels are off the charts.
Why did I fucking do this? And
I'm still getting my money for this, right?
Yeah. It's always money. Every time I hear him, every time on that show, he's always like, "Send me money," and I'm like, that's the only part where I go, I wish he'd stop saying that. It just.
Yeah, it's 100 Canadian bucks, which is about 30 cents US.
It's the Harvard. He's Canadian.
What?
JD, he's Canadian. JD's real name is Matt Slick. He lives. He lives just right down on 32. So that would be.
Is Slick Canadian? I'd be happy if he would.
No, I don't think he's Canadian.
I hope not.
We're just watching the hangout. I was showing Mark the hangout, where you had the debate, and I want to debate you.
Yeah,
okay?
we're going to do a little.
So we're going to do a little debate, but we were watching. I go see the games JD plays. I go watch the debate with him and Matt Slick. It's absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
Where he just all of a sudden just all right, fuck off, I'm gone. When you start asking him. Just you're having a conversation, you're going back and forth, and you'll say something like, in the middle of conversation, if somebody says something that kind of misrepresents you, you kind of say, whoa, hold on, before you keep going, just let me clarify that. And he wasn't giving you any of that. He was just being like, no, this is how it's going to work. And I just thought that was very dishonest of him, and you kicked his ass.
Yeah, during the debate, I made a point of shutting him down when he was starting misrepresenting me, because that's his modus operandi.
Yeah, and you.
So I was like, hold on, that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I tried to be a bit comical about it because I knew I was gonna have to say it so many times. Like, that is exactly what I said. Apart from all the parts you just said, apart from the things you said, that was close.
Yeah.
Because he would just be like, you're apparently arguing with someone else, or. I have something I like to say in text. I'm like, you just beat the ever-living crap out of Straw, JD. If he was here right now, he'd be bleeding on the floor. Well done.
Well,
now, about what I was saying, let's go back to that.
Yeah. See, what I like, though, you did not... I remember you went on the Bible Wingnut show, and that was amazing because these guys will have a show, and they just totally mute the mic. If you're trying to make a point, they'll mute it. They have one guy they have a pirate that's actually missing an eye.
Yeah.
And then they have another guy who he's got his dick in like in Matt Slick's ass all the time. He's just like, dude, you're totally refuted. Like he's just a total.
Like Andrew Rappaport.
That's it. That spineless jellyfish. He's just painful. And then JD went on it, and you were actually hard on yourself afterwards. You kind of thought you didn't do well, and I thought, no, you.
I didn't really stick with the topics I'm good with. I went with something I had heard from a friend, from Cliff Jumper, who.
Yeah. Cliff's funny.
Had issue with Matt Slick saying that he had Asperger's.
Yes.
Cliff does have Asperger's. He apparently has. I mean, he has documentation.
Yeah.
Psychiatrists who specialize in it, who's like, he does have it. And he knows enough about it to recognize when other people obviously don't have it. People have complained that, well, you're not a psychiatrist. Yes, but if someone says they have depression, yet they're living their lives like someone who is the happiest person in the world, you might go, well, hold on a sec. I thought you said you had depression. You seem to be happy all the time.
Right.
So you're taking no medication. You're happy all the time. Either you're really good at hiding it, or maybe you aren't depressed.
Yeah, and Cliff was pretty pissed off at that, saying, hey,
Cliff did so much better than I did. I
Cliff's great.
A little bit of information, some stuff that I gleaned from what he had said, and I didn't have it all in memory.
Right.
So I wasn't prepared for when he started giving me like anecdotes from his life, which I found not so much convincing, but enough to back me off. Like, all right, maybe Cliff and I didn't have the information. Of course, I should have known better than to give any kind of concession to a creationist or an apologist, because they will just make you eat it. They will harp on it for days. In fact, I still hear from it from certain people. And another guy named Ernie Devers, every time I break a comment, says, "Oh yeah, remember when you said that Matt Slick had Asperger's?"
Right.
I already admitted that sucked, but
yeah, but it was getting off of the. It was kind of like derailing. It was derailing the whole conversation, because it was kind of like, kind of throwing in a monkey wrench out of nowhere, saying, "You know why I act this way? Because I've got retardation. Okay, I'm a complete retard." Like, that's what he was trying to. And nothing against anybody with Asperger's. No, like, that's not.
No offense to any tards out there.
No, but just, it was kind of like saying the way I behave is because I have Asperger's, right? And it's like, no, I know people with it, and they don't act like a pompous ass. They don't act like Pat Tiffin's got it.
Tiffin's got
and he's like a really sweet guy, and if things bother him, he'll let you know. And
he acknowledges it like right off the hop. He doesn't spring it on you as a surprise when he starts losing a debate.
Yeah, but he doesn't sit there every second and go, "By the way, I have Asperger's. That's why I'm rude to you."
Yeah.
And I just thought most people that have Asperger's are not rude at all.
No, and they work very hard to not be.
Yeah, they try really hard not to be.
I have to disagree a little bit with that. It kind of depends on how much therapy they've had. Because people with Asperger's, they tend not to edit themselves as much.
Right.
So they're occasionally too honest. Honest in where it becomes like a social faux pas. Like, okay, that was rude, and you have to tell them that was rude. They're like, oh, okay.
Right.
I know. My son has Asperger's, so I know a little bit about it. I think Cliff's issue was that he felt that Matt Slick, one, he didn't have it. 2, that he knew he didn't have it. 3, that the reason he was doing it was a license to be an asshole.
Right. Yes, that's what I mean.
He took great offense to that. As someone with Asperger's, he was upset that he was making people like him look silly.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
And if you're going to throw it out there, then you have to be prepared to be corrected on it every once in a while during the conversation.
Yeah, but to use it, the way he uses it is like kind of like a crutch, just to say, hey, I'm rude and I won't. I mean, we were just watching the one where he literally just left the conversation. You were going back and forth, and he.
No, that was the debate. That was the debate we had. Well, there's two times where he left. One, he left permanently. He came on Talking Shit Tuesday in the last 5 minutes.
Oh yeah, that was hilarious.
He tried to get a rise out of me, and I threw it back in his face, and he got upset.
Yeah.
And then basically he rage quit.
Yeah.
He's trying to. I guess he's trying to condescend, and I happily upped it and condescended even further to him. And I was upset, but he got upset. Like, oh, well, if you're gonna treat me like that, like, what, you mean the way you're treating me?
Yes, that was very.
Sorry, I thought Jesus preached the golden rule. What's the problem?
Yeah.
So he ran off that. But there's another one where I had a debate with him.
Yeah, that's I've seen all of them.
Yeah, during the debate, it was on Positively Godless's channel.
Yeah, that where the one where you were just having a conversation back and forth, and you were just trying to clear up the conversation, and finally he just goes, "Listen to me. This is how it's going to work."
He gets that principal tone, like you're sitting across the desk from the principal.
Yeah, he thinks he's intimidating. He looks like fucking King of the Hill. Like he just looks like this little weaselly Hank Hill kind of character. He kind of looks like the Sun if he didn't have hair on his dick. He just looks like this little weirdo. So he got all bent out of shape, and he kind of. I was surprised you guys let him back in, because I just thought that was really rude, but enjoyable to watch. And you're sitting there going, "Oh, this is better than TV." Honest to God, this is WWE. This is awesome. So great job though. Yeah, I don't want this to be.
Speaking of WWE, in the current community right now, there's a big split between young Earth creationist flat earthers and young Earth creationist round earthers, if you could believe that.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. I thought that was a joke. You had a girl. I remember he was debating a girl, and she was pretty rude.
Yeah, Rose Patton. She's a piece of work.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking, like, if you were a dude, I'd slap the shit out of you, I mean, just a rude, but I thought it was kind of a joke, like, at the first 3 minutes, because, Mark, there are people that think the planet is flat.
I know, oh yeah, well,
the planet is flat.
The rapper dude, Bob or whatever he's called, he was...
There's a rapper who thinks the planet's flat?
Yeah, he just recently came out saying, I mean, it's flat. I mean, he would know.
How the fuck can you think the planet is flat? I knew when I was 3
that it
was a globe. or an oval or whatever the fuck. It's not flat.
What do you attribute that to, JD? The
stupidity.
The idea, these wacky ideas that people come up with. What's with the desire to believe that weird shit?
Well, I like to say that they're crazy.
Yeah.
But I think the truth of it is that they're possibly the most consistent biblical literist Christians on the planet. They're really taking the book for everything it says at face value. No attempts to fit their own interpretation into it. Yeah. The Bible does preach what I've actually got a flat Earth creation. It's called a snow globe Earth. It's flat, coin-shaped. The glass dome, the firmament, is held up by pillars, which are the mountains.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That is the way it is, and the Bible does lay that out. And I've actually told quite a few creationists, and I mentioned on my show that this actually makes sense as far as from a secular standpoint. It makes sense that they would think that because it does fit with observation in a pre-science civilization. If you
right,
you look up, you see water on the ground, it's blue. You look up, you see blue. You might think, well, that must be water up there. We can't reach it. Well, then why is it coming down on us? Well, we know glass keeps it out. We can see it, but there's always be something holding up. We know that glass does that. Must be a glass dome up there.
The fuck? These people think it's a Truman Show?
Yeah.
Basically, yeah. In a sense, that's how they view the world. The sun apparently is only 30 or 40 kilometers long.
Holy fuck! See, this is why we're ruined.
Yeah.
What's funny is they don't know. I had a talk with a particular creationist named Arcane Logo.
Oh yeah.
Online moniker, and I asked him. I said, "Well, what's the sun made of in your model?" He said, "I have no idea, but it gives off light."
Yeah, but
I'm surprised he didn't mention heat, but just light.
But they know. What do they think? Astronauts, like we've had people, what is it, 50, 60 years ago, walk on the moon?
Yeah, that's not real either, though.
No, but
lies from the pit of hell.
But we have satellites. I mean, have you ever not been on a plane?
Right.
Like, if I thought the planet was flat,
you can't see that far away because it's far.
You know what the sailors used to say a long time ago before pollution? They used to say when they used to see the mass of a sail, they said that was one of the reasons why Christopher Columbus thought the Earth was round, or because. Now you can't see it, but back then you could actually see, they said, a mast from far away as it comes up. You could actually see the ship, the mast. There's sections.
First,
yeah. That's what they said. And I go, wow, that is beyond far.
Yeah.
But that was one of the reasons that they said the planet, everybody used to believe that it was flat, but a lot of sailors said no, because if it was flat, we've been out pretty far.
Yeah.
That's not, what do you fault? Why wouldn't the water all disappear?
Well, apparently they believe the ice is surrounding the edges.
Oh.
So basically, I believe it's the North Pole, it's either North Pole or Antarctica that is actually, rather than being a center thing, it's actually the entire outer edge of the dome.
Okay.
But that's actually why it makes snow globe more accurate. The outer edges are all snow and ice.
Yeah, but that's like saying.
Of course, the thing is they can't really explain seasons or weather patterns.
Right. Well, that's what I mean.
Formations or the thing is, the Earth being spherical is necessary for. It's one of those things that is taken for granted in most of the theories we have that explain things, and not explain things in that. Well, I'm going to say that this explains things, but theories that make risky predictions. That there are plenty of things we should necessarily see and necessarily not see, and these theories predict those things, and we don't see them what we shouldn't see. We do see what we should. Yeah, they're accurate. They make accurate predictions.
Right.
So what they're saying is most of these models, are, despite having predictive successes, many of them, they're still all wrong. NASA is all lies. All they do is Photoshop. The Japanese, I showed them a link to a Japanese satellite that the Japanese put up there to check for to study weather patterns, and it updates every 10 minutes and it's available publicly. I showed them that. Nope, that's a bunch of NASA lies.
That's what I mean.
Like Japan, it's an issue. The issue is that they've kind of devised a system where, while they love to demand evidence, they've set it so that nothing that you present will be accepted, because videos are all faked, photos are all fakes, and any organization that presents any kind of information or evidence is part of a conspiracy to produce evidence against them.
But why? Like, why would there be such a conspiracy to do that? Like, I don't understand what's the point.
That is another one of the problems, that there is no real motive. The motives they present don't cover the cost it would take to employ however many millions of people in the world who have jobs that, if the world were round, they would have to take that into account in their daily lives. People who make satellites, people who make the space shuttle, people who make planes and jets, people who need to every airline in the world. I mean, if it's flat versus round, that changes how much gas you use. It changes how far you go.
But
how does gravity work if we're not actually pulling towards the center? Because if gravity still is the way we think it is, well, then it should be weaker out here, stronger in the middle, except it isn't. It's the same all around.
Yeah, wouldn't birds like fly into the glass and like
so?
Well,
what?
Well, the rockets would fly into the glass. There's a great person to talk to on this. If you can get him on the show, his name is Redline. He's a big fan of cosmology, physics, and just everything I do with space. Rockets are his thing. He loves to talk about rockets, goes down, watches videos of rockets going up, and he took a video of his own with a very nice video camera, and he showed the rocket went up, and then he also later on showed its return minus part that went up. He says, well, tell me, flat earthers, where did that go?
Right.
He actually managed to convince a flat earther to stop being a flat earther. That was
That's great.
Holy.
Because that there is hope. Because if I were
for some it's hope. For some you're like there's nothing there.
Yeah, like if I was I think I've never met a person that thought the planet was flat.
No,
and
I haven't either.
If I met a person that thought the planet was flat, I don't think I could be friends.
No.
Like I would just say
it'd be like an anti-vaxxer. No.
It would just kind of be like you're really like this is like a child knows that the planet's round.
Did you ever see that video on YouTube of I think it was in a classroom, but I'm not sure. But they took a GoPro, attached it to a weather balloon, and just fired it up into the air, and they got the video from it. And it this was something that private individuals did, not that hard to do. Get a weather balloon, send it up, and you can clearly see from the GoPro footage that the Earth is curved.
Right, but you could...
Oh, no, that was the lens. The lens added the curve to it because these people also don't understand how cameras work.
But these are the same people that think, would you rank these people as the same people that think that 9/11 was a conspiracy?
I don't think I've met a flat earther who doesn't buy into many, many other conspiracies.
Okay.
As far as I know, they're all creationists. I've yet to meet one that is not a young Earth creationist.
Like I
can't just be religion.
I've not met one who isn't also a truther, a birther. If they even had the wherewithal to know about the 7/7 attack, they would probably think that was a conspiracy as well.
But,
I know a couple of them think that there's actually reptilians among us that think they're demons. So we're talking about people who they don't have a methodology for differentiating between fact and fiction. And when you lose that, quite a few young creationists are like this. Some of them are simply they don't really go any further than simply a fallacious argument from authority. They take the word of certain scientists who are irrelevant in their fields, who don't publish, but in fact have PhD in their title.
Right.
And they take what they say as gospel and they ignore the majority and the consensus and the evidence. They're like, well, this guy agrees with me and that's all that matters. It fits with the Bible. I'm done. Others actually go further, and they simply don't have any interest in science. Science is untrustworthy.
Yeah, that's the part.
So the only thing that matters to them is what they read and what they can intuit. In fact, I believe there's a term for it. It's compulsive self-reliance. They can only really rely on themselves and people who tell them stuff they already believe. They can't really take in new information. It's all got to come from them.
Really?
Yeah.
So they will happily lob if they're into one conspiracy, they're suddenly into every conspiracy they hear because.
But instead of like
conspiracies are true, and so they just keep buying into them, and they don't know how to check the facts. They don't know how. The critical thinking is just foreign to them. They don't really know what it means. A good example is Rose Patton, you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, her. Like I'm amazed. Instead, like just like you've explained it so many times, like. How do you not sit there and just go, "Are you fucking stupid?" Like, are you
I
like?
wanted to say that, but I also wanted to keep talking to her. If you say that, they tend to run away.
Right, because I was like, "Are you really that fucking thick? Like, do you not understand the world? Do you not get it? You know, like I don't know. Like, I was amazed that you talked to her for a while, and she was just a snotty little. You should have heard this broad.
No,
she was awful. She was just like, JD, yeah, whatever, yeah, man, whatever. And I'm thinking, is this some stoner chick that does not like leave her house? You know,
that's another thing I've noticed is that I guess it's kind of depends on your point of view, but the crazier the belief, the more emphatic and confident they are when they're arguing it. For instance, there's another guy. I'm not even sure if he's actually a flat earther because there's plenty of doubts to his sincerity. But his name is Pillbox, or people typically call him Pobox because Poe's law. They're not really sure if he's a fundamentalist or doing a parody of a fundamentalist.
Oh, right.
But his defense is he's so every response he makes. It's implied that he's won already, that there's nothing you can say, that he's kicking your ass. Despite not actually presenting any information at all, it's just a stream of I'm winning, 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 I'm winning.
Wouldn't that freak you out?
Your response had nothing to do with mine. Well, that's because I won already because I'm winning, winning, winning.
Yeah.
It's like arguing with Charlie Sheen. It's like you're not getting anywhere.
Yeah, and that's what I don't like. That would freak me out if you could find out, like you could dox people, find them out, and it was fucking President Obama. Pillbox, that would just freak the shit out of me. But
it could be.
Doesn't that?
Well, if there's anyone famous who's a flat earther, I'd be
like. That's what I don't.
That Bob guy. What?
Like if it turned out to be Huckabee, like, oh, you've been secretly online. Oh dear, that's
yeah. Like it's
please never win.
Yeah.
I don't think it'd make any difference.
You just sit there and go, holy shit, it's Donald Trump. Like it's unbelievable. Like these, like for real. There's a famous person that is a gamer that nobody knows, that he actually plays games against people, and it's supposed to be some mega famous person, and people have no idea that they're playing against this guy. But that's one of the beauties of YouTube. I mean, I use my real name. I'm a stand-up. Mark uses his as a stand-up. I mean, I'm easy to find. JD Kain, that's who we're talking to here, who is a Harvard graduate. I mean, he really knows his stuff. He reminds me of Oz and Aaron Ra.
I should be clear. I am not a Harvard graduate.
No, you're not. I thought you were.
I put that up there to mess with people because back when I first started doing this, I get a lot of creationists trolling my profile,
right?
Just for some news against me. And so I'm like, well, maybe give them something fun to read because I mean, the people who knew me were like, yeah, of course.
You should have totally lied about that.
Oh, I'm done. I'm out.
No, you should have lied. You could have had that. You could have been Ezra Levant. You could what's his name? What's that? The guy I can't stand. He's
the list is long.
Yeah, the list is long. But the guy who totally lied about his credentials.
Oh, Reza Aslan.
Reza Aslan. You could have totally told everybody that you went to Harvard, and nobody would question that. I'm telling you, JD.
I did tell a creation. Shanna. I'm trying to remember the rest of her name. Or Shanny. She knows like Shanny for Christ.
Shanny from the.
I convinced her very easy without any effort that I work for the NSA.
Right.
Well, she was accusing me of it. I'm like, well, I cannot confirm nor deny, and that was all it took. Boom. You work for the NSA. You're a shell. You're this.
Well, you got that
I
smart.
Still hear it today. In fact, me saying this on here, she'll probably think is part of me trying to cover the fact that I really.
Yeah, you could have totally.
Reverse psychology. I that little part, I'll take him down.
You could have totally milked that because you got that smart, not smart mouth, but you smart personality where you you don't fumble or fucking stumble like I do. You could back up your claims.
You should have kept us going right to the end. And
yeah,
just
and then just go, by the way, losers. I went to Ching.
And the last one, I'm like, goodbye. By the way, don't work for Harvard. See ya.
By the way, there's the God. Bye, losers. So,
I did before we got too far away. I did want to finish the little point I was making about.
Sure, yeah. See, right. Harvard, right there. That's what I mean.
Yeah, throw the Harvard thing out. The issue is just like I said, she's a good example of someone who just has no idea how to think. For instance, during my talk with her, if you saw, you probably know it. She continually and repeatedly wanted me to prove her wrong.
Right.
As if the burden is on anyone who questions what she believes.
Yeah.
I said, well, no, that's not really how it works. You believe the Earth is flat? No, I'm just a skeptic that it's round. Like, I'm sorry. Either way, it still comes out to you think it's some other shape. What shape do you think it is, and why? I can explain to you why I think it's round. I mean, it's one of those things. That idea has been around for 2,500 years, and there's been no serious challenges to it. And then we can say, well, here's a bunch of experiments you can do in your backyard. I've done like one of them, just for the hell of it. Here's all these observations of where the sun goes, how the light shoots up.
Right.
All the photos. I mean, I don't think NASA's a giant conspiracy hub, so I take their photos at face value. I see no reason to think they're crap.
I've
seen the footage. I've seen all the arguments for why the moon landing alone was definitely happened. Like there was no way. This actually just recently I heard there was no way to fake the footage back in the 60s. They had like people would see like in the flat Earth or the we didn't land on the moon conspiracies. they tend to show snippets of like a few minutes. But in fact, there's nearly 2.5 hours of unbroken footage when it originally happened.
Right.
And there was no way to edit that in real time back then. They didn't have VHS tapes. You had to actually get the reels. And so I listened to someone who was like was degreed and like worked in cinematography his whole life, explaining this. Like, there's no way. Mm-hmm. So anyway, back to Rose. So she continues to this day. Every time she makes an assertion, she ends with "prove me wrong," and it's kind of become a joke. Like, "Hi, my name is Rose Patton. Prove me wrong." Because that she doesn't understand that is a classical argument from ignorance. You're saying I'm right until you prove that I'm wrong, which is bad reasoning. It means you're using negative evidence only for your beliefs.
But look at all the. I mean,
I guess the point is I explained this to her.
Yeah, you did. You did.
Multiple times, but nothing gets through. She continues to do the same.
Yeah, but
she cannot think out of it. She cannot. I mean, I even showed her the poster. Like the logical fallacies that we have today, they've been around a while.
Right.
You know that you're not supposed to, insult a person as if that insults their argument. You're not supposed to say, "Oh, well, you're a hypocrite," as if that's a rebuttal to anything. People have known this kind of stuff for a while, but there's some people today who simply don't have the education or the faculties to get these things. And it's you don't want to just say, "Well, they're morons."
Well, you know what would be cool? You know what would be cool?
There's no other way to put it.
If you got Rose, and I don't know I'm not going to dox what city you're in, but if you were to take them to the Science Center.
Oh, it's okay. I'm in Cincinnati.
Yeah. Oh, fuck, Cincinnati's beautiful.
It is. I was just at the museum today. I took another picture there to put up.
I love the museum.
They had a live feed of the Earth in the museum. It was actually part of the exhibit because it was in like the space section.
Right.
They had a live feed I took a picture of where they're actually showing the timer move down. It's like, oh, that's right now. I'm not seeing it recording. This is right now. They got this live from the internet. There's the weather patterns around the Earth. Here's the curve.
Right.
Liars.
But you know what would be cool? If you took Rose or any of these people and you took them to the museum or you took them to the science center and their heads would fucking explode. Yeah. Like they would just say, this dinosaur, first of all, is only 200 years old.
Yeah.
This dinosaur here is only, I mean.
Prove I'm wrong.
Yeah, like there's so much stuff. Like if you look at the history, even the United States against Russia, the battle those two had for supremacy alone, do you actually think the Russians would say, yeah, we'll let the Americans win? Don't you think the Russians would come up with a way of faking a moon landing so they would get the upper hand?
Well, yeah,
I mean,
whatever. Wouldn't it be a way cooler story? I mean, JD is saying that we've known the Earth around for 2,500 years or more. Wouldn't it be cool, like a much better story if the rocket took off and fucking went right underneath and saw the crazy mountains holding shit up?
Remember that hit the glass. Like,
remember the big joke. If you dig long enough, you'll hit China. When you were a kid, if you dig, you'll hit China.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do you?
Well, I guess in the Bible you'd hit the deep.
You'd hit hell. You'd end up in hell. You'd be like,
right.
Well, Sheol is under there. Whether that's hell or not is kind of.
You'd see Bugs Bunny in a dress.
In fact, the Old Testament really doesn't have. I mean, hell is a New Testament thing. It's not very well described.
Yeah, and how do you?
In the Old Testament, they talk about like where the dead go.
Yeah,
but it's not a place of torment. It's basically, well, you pissed off our God, and so you're done.
So how do
But
you?
He left you alone. In the Old Testament, He left you alone after you died. In the New Testament, where it's like, no, that wasn't bad enough. I need you to keep suffering forever.
Right. So how do you know all this stuff? I know, like Oz. He
Mm-hmm.
actually
went to school.
Well, how do you know all this stuff? Like, where did you study? Where did you study all this stuff? Like, I mean, it seems like I saw you debate Gman, and you knew more about the Bible than he did, and I just thought that is backwards, man. Well,
if I could be a little bit humble, that was not difficult given it was Gman.
Yeah. True. Very true. I think
Gman has a study Bible. I believe it's a children's study Bible.
The coloring one.
He was not difficult. I remember the moment where it became readily apparent during the question and answer portion where I mentioned the resurrection. And I was going through the problems in the narrative, which are well known to people who study theology at all. And he said, "Well, I accept that they all say the same thing, and I accept that on faith." I said, "So you don't need faith." One says that one woman went there. One says that two went there.
Yes.
A group of them went there. Which one of those is right? They can't all be right. These are mutually exclusive claims. It's not like when you have.
And he didn't know.
This account are unreliable, but this is more than unreliable. These are just completely different accounts.
Now,
either the stone was rolled away or it wasn't. Some accounts say it was. Actually, it's only Matthew says it was rolled away. Actually, Matthew says it wasn't rolled away, but then an angel descended and moved it while they were there. And that's in none of the other stories. So the other stories, how could they have missed that event? How did they miss the earthquake? How did they miss the dead rising and visiting the relatives?
Right. And that's even
it's very clear that these stories were fabricated long after these supposed events took place, and the events didn't really take place.
And never mind why the stone had to be moved in the first place.
But Oz,
Well, I mean, the bigger question: why did Jesus have to die?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Like that's where I was.
You think of something capable of creating universes would not, require human sacrifice to forgive the things that he made in the first place.
Right. Like why?
There's so many problems.
Yeah. Like I was.
Off the point. Where did I learn this stuff?
Yeah.
I've been doing it. I guess I've been doing it a while. As far as the Bible, I've read a few books. I've read the Bible, obviously, but I've also read a few books on it. Mostly Bart Ehrman. There's one other person I'm trying to remember his name, but mostly Bart Ehrman, who is a New Testament critic.
Right.
He's a former Earth creationist who lost his faith while studying the Bible, but continued. He still works. He still works at one of the
Chapel Hill.
The New Testament scholar, like a primitive universe. I'm trying to remember what it was. Oh, it's Chapel Hill.
Yeah.
Which apparently is that's a big deal. That's apparently a great seminary. He still works there and he teaches the New Testament. And he doesn't try to challenge people's faith too much. He just wants them to look at the Bible critically.
Yeah.
So he's like, be liberal Christians. If you're into inerrancy, you're going to lose it by the time my class is over.
And that's what I saw the same thing where he was a diehard Christian, but he said how he read the Bible was like you lined it up and you would question the dates. Like Matthew was different than what Luke was saying, and it was like you have to read the accounts separately. You have to they're actual. While the Bible is a collection of books, they are still a collection of different books, different people, different theological biases and narratives, different times they were writing, and different messages they wanted to get across. Yeah, and it would be like me.
One is one of the big contradictions is Potter's Field. Like how Judas died, who bought Potter's Field. That's one of those contradictions. There's really no way around, and the ways they harmonize it by saying, oh well. Because the narrative is in one of them, he gives the money to people. This is off the top of my head, so I can't give you super specific, but gives the money to the priests or something like that, and then goes and hangs himself.
Right.
In the next one, he keeps the money, buys field, and then falls over and his guts spill out.
Yes.
It's one of the other. I might have mixed those up a little bit, but that's
yeah, but they are different, though. They are different.
Exactly. But the thing is because the authors had different theological things they wanted to say. There's actually morals of those stories that they wanted to get across, and they're different, and that's why the stories are different. They're trying to say something different with a fictional tale, because fiction, nonfiction was not really the same thing back then. There wasn't as big a difference between them, because you didn't have stenographers. You didn't really have people. There were no newspapers. So while today we have a very clear demarcation, fiction, nonfiction, they didn't really have that 2,000 years ago.
Right.
And so this was making things up that you think people said was an accepted practice.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was something where
foreign to us now. It's very foreign to us now, but back then that's just the way
it was. Well, Matt Slick would say stuff like, "Hey, did you write? Do you know? Were you there? Did you write it? I would."
Sounds more like Ken Ham, actually.
Was it Ken Ham?
Yeah.
Well,
Ken Ham he's the one who invented the "How do you know? Were you there?" argument.
Right.
I love when he said that to Bill Maher when he did that interview with him. He's like, "Are you God?"
Yeah, and it was weird, like just very weird. These people, I just find them. I mean, one of my favorite talks that you gave, and it always stuck with me, was when you said about where you said to it was during a Google Hangout, and you just said, hey, like if that was my daughter and Matt Slick's daughter, if forget the book, man, that's my daughter. Go grab my daughter and give her a hug. Fuck the book.
Yeah.
I mean, who cares? It's a book. You're not going to have a relationship because of a book. And I've seen his daughter. She's a very bright, smart. She seems like a very intelligent person. You can't tell everything from one video, but she actually had a debate with VenomX, this other nut job, and she did an awesome job. She was polite, great, and I just thought, why wouldn't you want a relationship? I mean, if that was my daughter, I'd be so proud of her. Even if I didn't believe, if we had two totally different beliefs, there is no way I'm not going to. It's like you didn't like Dr. Zeus. That's it. You're gone. Fuck off. You know? What do you mean you don't like
Well,
Dr. Drew?
it's not just that. My issue actually, it's a bit harsher, I would say. It's that he sticks to the presuppositional position, which is where they take a particular line in Romans 1 that says that everyone knows God.
Right.
And he says that, or also the other one that says, since Christians can never deconvert, she must not have ever been a Christian, which he now says like she was never a Christian. But the issue is that he is a Calvinist. He believes in the traditional kind of hellfire. He's pretty sure she's going there, and he's doing it, and he seems fine with that.
Yeah.
That's what really.
Yeah.
I said this on my show. I said, if this were me, and it was my daughter, I would not have a job. I would not have anything. I would be doing nothing but sitting outside her house, knocking on her door, trying to get her to believe again so that she does not suffer.
Yeah.
I mean, because your child sprains their leg and you're in agony.
Yeah.
You feel it yourself. Trying to imagine them in lakes of fire and eternal torment away from you, you're going to have to be in heaven.
Right.
And somehow be okay with this? How do parents deal with the idea that how is heaven going to be enjoyable to a parent when their children are elsewhere in some horrible way?
Yes, exactly.
We talked about this on the show before, where if you actually believe the shit you're spouting, and it's the same with the Muslim extremists as well, if it's really true and you really believe it, then the only way to do it is the extreme way. And that, to me, like you said, it's just you're not doing what you should be doing. What you should be doing is doing the work full time, all the time, getting people to go to heaven. And your daughter would be first person on the list.
But
Slick did some response once where he was like, I tried to call it once and he go through, that's not enough. That's not even, there's no enough. No matter what he was doing, it would still not be enough for what he thinks is actually going to happen to her. So either he doesn't really think it, or, I don't know, psychopath is a possibility.
Yeah. Yeah, like, to me, that's very...
he's dishonest.
Yeah, he seems very... I just
lack of empathy if you think hellfire is real, not to do everything you can.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I find interesting about Calvinism.
Yeah, what is Calvinism?
Where they say it's not up to me, it's only up to God. Everything's been preordained, so you're screwed from birth. Besides the fact, it's kind of odd. That's what we would call, if you've ever been to tvtropes.com, that's what it's called, a crap sack universe. Nothing good is going to happen in this reality. Most people are just going to suffer forever, and that sucks.
So
there's no way out.
That's what a Calvinist is. They say that again. What is a Calvinist?
Basically, they believe that you don't really have a choice. That it was said at the moment of creation, whenever God first had his thoughts, which is forever. Whatever. It's the theology doesn't make much sense, but basically, since the moment you were created, you were destined to go the route that you're going because no one can alter God's plan. You don't actually have a choice. In a sense, determinism is true, and you're going to hell whether you like it or not, or you're going to heaven whether you like it or not. You don't actually have a choice. You only have the illusion of choice. God is always in control.
So, but if
that's not exactly what Calvinism is. A Calvinist can be picky about it, but that's the problem I have with, I should say, is that. Well, I mean, I agree. Determinism is true. It has nothing to do with the deity, though. There's no deity with free will that's making this stuff happen.
Yeah, that to me, which is even more like when I watch a show like the Bible Wingnut guys, I just kind of think, and I can only take a little bit of them because I just think if you guys think we're bad, you guys are the personification of evil. I mean, you guys are sitting there laughing about people going to hell, how they don't get it. They're ruined. They're gone. And I just think you guys are sick, man.
Don't you think when you look at a lot of those guys and you see them talk to people, and in particular with Slick, that there's this really seething underlying anger with all of them?
Well, I just think there's something, like, if you ever watch him on the show, they kind of treat him like Ramses II. Like he's just, God's gift or whatever. They're like, he is the all-knowing slickster, and they all kiss his ass, and they all stick up for him. If somebody asks a question that you could tell fucks him up, one of his minions will come in and just derail the whole conversation,
Right.
And I just think that's so dishonest, and just the way they'll at
least try to buy him some time.
They'll buy him some time.
Hold on, let me ask the question a different way while he regroups.
Yes, and I find that so dishonest. I find that's the part I just can't I'm just thinking, you guys are supposed to be Christ-like. You guys are nothing like Christ-like. You guys are the opposite. You guys are evil, man. You're not good. This is evil what you guys are doing. You know, the way you behave, the way you talk to people. And I think it was Skylar Fiction I was talking to. Who was it that I was talking to that said, no, it was Matthew Steele. He said they believe that we're evil. Like we're the devil or something like that. Like they don't listen to us because they just think that we are evil. We're wrong.
Of Satan.
Of Satan, yeah.
I've been told that I have demons in me.
Right.
Based on nothing other than the fact that I'm not a Christian. I mean, this is not based on some, like, I wasn't, like, eating a baby at the time or anything.
Right.
I do that on occasion, just not usually in front of others.
Nothing like a good baby.
Well, don't you find that absolutely upsetting where they'll sit there and go, you don't have any moral standards because you don't know, like, would you kill a baby? No, I wouldn't. So God told you not to kill. Like, it's kind of like, instead of, there's nothing you could do. If a person's a psychopath, they're a psychopath. Okay? If they're going to kill, they're going to kill. They're crazy. Or, something's not functioning properly in their head.
It's like they're a drunk.
Right, but you don't need to be... I hate when they sit there and say, atheists have no moral compass. And I'm thinking, but the way you talk when you were talking about his daughter and stuff, I thought that was a very sweet, caring person saying that. Like, if you didn't give a shit, you'd kind of laugh at him and just say, hey, you're going to die an old man and no one's going to come to your funeral and you screwed up your whole life for this book. You could have been a total vicious piece of shit, but yet you were compassionate. You said, hey, man, get your head out of your ass. Go hug your daughter for fuck's sakes, like...
Yeah.
Well, the theists, actually the fundamentalists, they mean something different when they say that you have no morals, that an atheist has no morals. What they mean is they don't have an objective standard.
What does that mean, objective standard?
No one does. You're demanding, you're accusing me of something that's like, you don't have Bigfoot in your house, therefore that's a bad thing. Like, what? That's not something that's real. That has nothing to do with anything. No. So I always say, like, well, first you have to demonstrate that there's such a thing as an objective moral standard, and that you can somehow, get an ought from an is. There's plenty of philosophical problems that are problematic for any person who believes in objective morality. The closest I've seen is objective in the sense of intersubjective, like agreement of other people. Although I think that's kind of a way of just making. I think that runs into the ad populum fallacy. Like, well, a whole lot of people agree with this, so we'll do it that way. I don't know if that works.
Right.
But basically, they're saying, they're not saying you don't have morals, saying you only have subjective morals. Like, well, yes, that's all there is. What's the problem with that? It's not really an accusation that makes much sense. Sure, it might feel more comfortable to say, well, there's some perfect thing who's telling me the best things to do in all situations, and I love him for it. But one, they can't demonstrate that thing exists, and two, that doesn't really matter. How do you know he's giving you the right answers? He can simply be fucking with you.
Right.
It's a lot easier to go with option B rather than have to think things through for yourself every time a moral dilemma comes up.
If you're not thinking things for yourself, you're not even a moral agent in the first place. So you are amoral. You're basically like, he told me to do this, I'm going to do it. It doesn't really matter why he told me.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Which is where it goes. It's like, well, he told me to slaughter these people and rape all the virgins, and well, that's what he told me to do, and he knows best.
You know what's nice is a nice beer butt baby.
Yeah, but that's what I don't. Yeah, that's what I don't get. Like, wouldn't like, why would God need you to do something so heinous? Like, to kill a baby, you got to go kill them all. Like when Moses against who was it?
You got to show how devoted you are.
The Midianites and the Amalekites, that was the worst one, where they had everyone slaughtered but the virginal women, which they were to quote unquote keep for themselves.
Right. So
I've heard so many people saying, "Oh, well, they didn't mean it that way." I'm like,
well, what did you mean it?
The part where he killed all the babies and boys. And that didn't bother you? Or just like, well, he didn't actually say to rape them.
Yeah.
But he did say to murder everyone else. How's that better? How's that help?
Yeah, like, but why?
Well, he was going to be nice to the virgins. So what? He still murdered everyone else.
Yeah, but how is that even, like, why, if God is so powerful, why does he need you to do that? Why couldn't he just kill them? Like, why does he need you to do his dirty work? Like,
and that's a common argument against this. What's to do with the problem of evil, or I should say the problem of positing something that is omnibenevolent or all good, and And then like, well, that wasn't all good because there were other things he could have done. Got rid of them painlessly. Whether it was his plan or not is irrelevant. The argument, I should say, the excuse they give is that, well, he's perfect, he knows what's best, and so why should we question it? Well, because he's doing things that don't fit with what we say.
Right.
I frequently ask people, I said, what would be the cutoff point where you're like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and use my own natural moral compass to say that what he did was not okay? Does he have to, I think the example I gave to someone was, what if in the book it said, by the way, if you believe in me or if you don't, everyone at the end will suffer for eternity because that's the best thing. At that point, would you question it? Would you say maybe it isn't all good? Or would you still say, well, I guess me suffering forever no matter what I do is the best thing? And so far they've balked and said, well, no, that's not good. I'm like, well, by what standard? His standard says you're going to suffer forever, and that's great. I thought you were going to use his standard, not using it anymore. Why not? What changed?
Right.
So it's where they want to use God as the standard for good, which is really is to say that they want to use what the Bible says as the standard for good. But then if the Bible were to say something different, they would somehow know that it isn't good anymore? Well, based on what? How are they determining this?
Right.
So they want to hide the fact that they have their own moral compass they're using, and they want to say, no, I'm just listening to God. Except if he said something I didn't like, I might change my mind.
Yeah. God meant something else in this case because it doesn't work out well for me.
Yeah, that is messed up.
That could help happens a lot.
Wait, here, I wanted to, now, if you were, like, stuck on an island or a space station, but half the guys you talk to don't even believe in that shit, so, if you were stuck and you could only have one person, and out of these three that I'm saying that you'd have to survive for 6 months with, okay, or a year, I'll give you a fucking year, a year, you had to either, it was Trey Jadlow, Rocket Ronnie, or Gman. Which one of those three would you pick? Now remember, 1 year. You have 1 year. 1 year.
Oh boy, you give me a choice between three piles of shit. Like,
Yeah. So Trey.
Which particularly fetid shit you want to smell?
Yeah.
For
Well,
a year
think about it.
versus
Think of
another fetid shit they'll smell for.
Think of
Like,
Dave.
they're all fetid shit either way. I'm not sure I'm getting anything no matter what.
Yeah, they're all turds. No matter how much you try and polish them, they're all shit. But think about, like, I think I would kill Rocket Ronnie. Okay. Like there's no.
Is murdering them up there an option?
Well, I'll bring that up later. But here's the thing.
Here, stab.
How would you? How would you rate? Like, if you had number one, who would you? I would go with Trey.
I have an online friend who likes to say when he boots people out of Hangouts, he says, I'm blowing you out the goddamn airlock. Up in the space station, that'd be an option. So I'm like, I just see his little pudgy little face floating out there. Okay, anyway, fantasy over.
Now remember.
I guess I would go with Ronnie.
You would go with Ronnie?
Rocket Ronnie. I'd probably go with him. He at least has a little bit of knowledge, and that's, I think, given it enough time, given a year of sitting and talk to him, might be something I could work with. I could bring him around to, okay, I'm glad you're a big fan of intelligent design, that you think God's everything, but here's, since you actually seem at least somewhat interested in looking into this, let's just sit here with, can I take some chemistry books with me? Maybe some books on biology with me. No Stephen Meyer, no Jonathan Wells, just the real stuff. And we can just sit, I could just sit there and read this stuff with him. Like, okay, let's work this out, see how this works.
I think that
I could work with him, and he might be fun to talk to. Because, like I said, he does have some interest in education. Trey Jadlow and Gman do not.
Yeah.
They know what they know, and they don't have any interest in learning anything else.
See, I think if you were stuck up there for a year and they came to rescue you guys, they would open up the airlocks and and it'd be Ronnie standing there or G-Man, whoever be up there, and they'd be like, "Where's JD?" And you'd be like, "Well, he died he committed suicide 364 days ago."
I'd be floating outside the airlock still, like.
Now, if you had like 5 chocolate bars, would you share any? Like, would you share with them, or would you hide them?
This is your ration. This is it. That's all you
get.
get.
Well, you get like shitty food, but you do have like you only have 5 chocolate bars. Would you share them?
Go ahead and share. No need to be petty.
No, I wouldn't share it.
Fuck that.
Fuck that. I wouldn't share my chocolate bar with
God
them.
wanted you to have a chocolate bar, you'd have your fucking
Yeah,
chocolate
exactly.
bar.
I'd be like, Ronnie, shut up. Yeah, just like, no, don't speak. Here, I'll give you. I'll let you have a sniff. So.
Well, if Shane for Christ is up there, I don't think whether I share or not, I don't think it'd be up to me.
Yeah, true. That'd be true. But you could
Oh
always
fuck,
do.
she can smell it. Ah!
You could always do the ending of "There Will Be Blood," where if he wants a chocolate bar, you got to say like, "Now I want you to yell out, there is no God and it's a myth," and you get to have a chocolate bar. You can just see Ronnie
You think
just
you're up there
just
with
yell him, just there is no God, it's a myth. Now, if you can, in one word or two words, describe a person. I'm going to give you these names. I want you to tell me what you think of them in 1 or 2 words. Okay. Now,
All right.
it's I'm going to screw up his name, but it's Dragnet Silva. He's always on the show. The
Dragnacht Silvas.
Yeah, Silvas. Am I saying that right?
I
think
not.
his name should be Sexual Chocolate.
I'm going to call him Jim.
He's the gamer that's always on. Is it Dragnaught? Dragnauct.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Too Hot.
Too hot. I say Sexual Chocolate.
The reason that's the first thing that pops in my head when I first started talking to him. He was always without a shirt because he was apparently out in the desert.
Right.
Or he's out, Death Valley or somewhere. It's just always 110 degrees, and the house couldn't keep it cool. I'm like, hey, Drag. Oh, I see it's hot out there again today.
Yeah. I saw him in one hang.
Roasting.
He was in one hangout, and I swear to God, he was wearing he was wearing a bra.
He's a great guy though. He's
he's hilarious.
He's actually studying biology right now, so he's been enjoying taking whatever he's learned in school and so you guys, you creationists haven't heard this bit. Let's bring this up. It's always fun bringing something up that creationists are not prepared for because there's millions of facts in biology which could be used against creationist arguments.
Right.
Well, there's this fact. Now, most of them there's not arguments for because people don't think to bring them up. I remember a specific one by Fiona Robertson. She's a retired molecular biologist. She's on my show quite a bit.
Yes, I like Fiona.
She had an argument where she talked about how she did work on sand gobbies.
Right.
How she basically needed to take a piece of their DNA and measured it, and how she used evolutionary common descent relationships to figure out to do her job. And without those relationships, the job would take years to figure out the genes she needed.
Right.
And anyone who brings up to it, a creationist, they're not prepared for this. They've never heard this. They can't go to Answers in Genesis and look this up. They don't have an anti-sand gobby argument, and so they just have to make something up on the spot like that. Doesn't prove anything because I really don't want it to because Jesus loves me.
Right. And Fiona is she's a theist, right?
Yeah, she's a Roman Catholic.
Yeah. So that's the thing that I like about your show. It's Talking Shit Tuesdays, and it's on Friday nights. No, it's Talking Shit Tuesdays. With the
Wednesday nights.
Yeah.
Or some people joke. I've had delay quite a few times. Probably near half the times I've had delay for just family concerns. Or
but well, that's.
I call it Talking Shit Wednesday.
Wednesday. But it's great because you'll have Fiona's great on it, and you have so many people that either are atheist or I talked to Max today. He's a Roman Catholic, but they'll come to your defense when you're going up a slick. They agree with you, which is really cool to see because they just and they believe in God. Do
you think JD the science and religion are reconcilable?
Absolutely not.
No. And
it's apples and oranges, except the orange is not a necessary part of how we understand the world. It has nothing. I mean, religion has nothing to offer. It can offer things that aren't true in order to offer comfort, but that's about it.
Yeah.
There's no truth in religious claims, or I should say. You can somehow get some poetic truths or literary truths, things that are interesting and maybe artful, but when it comes to understanding how the world works, science is it. Science is what we've got, it's what works. And we know through experience that what works is usually what's correct.
Right.
That's why science tends to lead to patents. We'd be like, oh, well, we learned something new. Let me see if I can apply it to make money.
Right.
In fact, that's probably I've said this a few times. The best argument against young Earth and young creation is something called basin modeling. It's used by petroleum geologists to figure out whether there's oil in an underexplored basin.
Okay.
And the model, it's all it's a software model, and it takes all this information into account, and because how oil forms is actually pretty complex. You have to look at impaction rates, what lived there, what layer it is, how hot it got, and if it's not hot enough, you don't get oil. If it's too hot, you don't get oil. You have a particular temperature. It's then got to flow into some open area. When people tap oil, they tap large quantities, billions of barrels. They don't tap 10 barrels. Not useful. So you have to take all this information into account, and some of that information includes what lived there, what died, how old it was, and how old the rock is, because that'll tell you whether the heat was that level. It'll tell you, how much pressure was applied, whether it's going to produce oil. And so when you plug in old Earth ages, which you say the absolute ages, the actual ones that we've determined, oil companies find oil. And this software is being used by, as far as I know, every oil company in the world. Shell, BP, pick a name. The only one I know that isn't is called Zion Oil. They're a young Earth creationist Jewish oil company, I believe, and they have not found any oil. So the thing is, the reason why I think it's so powerful is because oil companies don't care how old the Earth is. They don't care if creationism is true or not. They care about whether it will make them money.
Yeah.
Now, if applying young Earth assumptions, and I'm fine. I mean, assumption to me is not a bad word. If you can justify the assumption by showing that the model works, then I don't care. That's fine. If you have to assume this and it works, that's good. But young Earth assumptions don't work. If you assume that everything was put down without flood, and that these layers, all these layers, are only put down there about 4,000 years ago, you cannot use that information for anything. There are no creation science patents out there that I'm aware of. Right. No one has ever patented a creation science model to make money. Yeah. Because none of the models work. They're all just so assertions. They don't work at all. And the thing is, they're trying to put these forth to replace models that do work. I mean, Zion Oil apparently wants to replace petroleum jobs. Like, well, we're just going to use what God told us to find oil. And they haven't found anything yet. Like, oh.
Ken Ham's trying that right now.
What's he doing?
Well, with the whole religion land. I don't know what it's called. The
creationist world there.
Yeah.
So he's building Noah's Ark right now.
Yeah.
Well, did he get the money for that? I heard that they stopped.
He's struggling. He wanted the government to help, and I think they're not.
Well, oh wow, that is nuts.
Even Kentucky's like, nah, that's too far.
Yeah, and
he's not making money. So
all
there
right,
you go.
So one word or two to describe these people. Okay, so hogtied.
Trying to think of a good word, on the top of my head. Best ally.
Oh, that's a good one. Best ally.
He is. I'm gonna blow a little smoke up his butt here, but every time he shows up for Talk to Tuesday, my heart leaves over like, yay, it's gonna be a good show.
Oh, good.
He always has interesting things to say. He thinks he talks too much, but I'm like, keep talking, because you provide. You have a lot to talk about. You have a lot of education to present, and you present in a way that is entertaining and enjoyable and thorough.
Yeah, he can be a little wordy though at times.
Yeah, but I feel similarly about Ozymandias, in that both of them have very good ways of teaching.
Yeah.
Of really getting what they believe.
I always said he would be.
And it's great to have on the show, because the clearer you are, the better.
Well,
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, like he would be awesome, like smoking a joint and just go say, "Hey, go ahead and speak." Yeah. Like, tell me, like, read me this book. Yeah. Like, he would just blow you away, and that's
you'd get it at the time, and then you'd leave the room, and
I'm not saying go do drugs, but if you do drugs, like that would be awesome to just do it with him like that.
Yeah.
So what do you?
He's great for the show. It's one of those. It's like with Fiona Robertson. I mean, love the girl. I've known her since talking with her on the creation group, and the reliability of the Bible put to the test is also on Facebook. The problem is that in Hangouts she doesn't have the speech patterns that really lend itself well to video.
Right. And what would you one word?
Too many long pauses, which are probably great in personal conversation, but in a Hangout you have 9 other people also waiting their turn to talk, and so it's like, oh, come on, Fiona, keep going. Not her fault, of course. There's nothing you can do about how you speak. But,
right.
Whereas on the other hand, Hogtie will just burn rubber through his ideas, and he'll get them out there in a way you'll catch it all.
Yeah, I remember
just enough to just burn through
one of the things that I enjoyed about Hogtie that was really hilarious was he was having a really he was talking to Matt Slick or something, and he was having, he has the background with his kids' handprints or something. There's art.
I should do something like that.
Yeah, but he's got that behind him, and then he's like in this really heavy duty really philosophical question. He's answering, and like the kids will come up to him, and he's like, "No, not right now. Oh, that's great. That looks super." And he goes right back to the whole, like, my train of thought would have been just ruined, But he's like one of these guys that you would want, ground control. You want him to be the ground control guy to tell you, where do I land this fucking thing, because he would guide you in, even if he was, if the place was on fire that he was sitting in, he would just calmly bring you in. You'd have no idea that the building he was sitting in would be on fire and 8 people died. It would be like, is that what happened? Yeah. And so he has that thing about him where he can do several things at once, where I could barely chew gum and walk. He's got that gift. All right, so what do you think of Max?
Max Epicurus?
Yeah, that's it.
I don't know if he changed his name due to some conflicts with someone. But,
yeah, I mean,
okay, that's way more than 2 words already. Decent Christian.
Okay, that's all right. What do you think of John Belushi?
Zit.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Devon Tracy.
Fuck him.
Oh, you're not a fan?
Oh, no.
You mind me asking? Like,
I enjoyed by Devon Tracy. We're talking about Atheism is Unstoppable.
You're right.
I initially enjoyed his content, at least a little bit. I would skim through it, but apparently he's just gone down the rabbit hole of things that are. It's hard not to think of it as anything but racist. He defends them by blocking everyone, and he's actually made videos mocking. Look at this block list. Look at that guy. Banned. I don't. He's
right.
Just a douchebag. And the thing is, I actually saw the list as he was going down it, and I saw there are names on there that should never be on any block. Like Christopher Mowdy is just the nicest guy you'll ever meet. He doesn't. I mean, he can be vicious, but it's so rare that you don't even remember when last time it happened. Really nice guy. I don't know anyone who doesn't like him. He's on Devin Tracy's block list.
Really?
Like, why would you? What did he say? All you have to do is just say something he doesn't agree with, and you're gone. That's it.
Right. So
yeah, him. I feel similarly about the Amazing Atheist. Like TJ, I have no use for that guy. Just get off the stage.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that things like the Drunken Peasant Show are where a lot of the views are going.
Well, he's got like
all.
700 and something subscribers, like, and I'm thinking
he's successful. I kind of wish.
Yeah, he shoved like I told Mark, I said, Mark, grab a watermelon. We got to shove it up my ass, because how does this guy get that many views? And I like the Devin Tracy guy, because I just love a person that isn't scared. He's really. I watch him going against Islam, where he just doesn't, he sees that it's a threat, and he's not PC. And, love him or hate him.
He's right about Islam is definitely a problem.
Right.
It's just that there's so much other stuff, like his current back and forth with Creationist Cat. He dropped the guy for no reason. Luckily, he didn't care. The guy didn't care, but anyone going that far, and this is a fellow atheist. There's no reason to do that. You shouldn't be doing it to a theist either. But just to do it at all, like he just keeps going too far.
Yeah.
And there's a reason he's on, like, I don't know, Atheist is Unstoppable 47, because he keeps getting banned for breaking terms of service and being a general douchebag.
Right. Oh. Well,
yeah, I mean, like I said, I initially liked his content. It was like initially liked what's her name? Who's the other famous female atheist?
Jacqueline Glenn.
Yeah, I used to be a big fan of hers.
She's a big plagiarist, though.
Just how derivative the things she was saying were. And then I found out isn't this derivative for a reason. She's taking it word for word from other people.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
It's like that. These things are just not okay.
No.
They're actually, it's interesting. There are more and more famous atheists who I just lost my taste for. P.Z. Myers is a famous example.
Yeah, what happened to him? Like, he went from, I used to be a big fan, and then I saw just him just going off the deep end. Like, I don't know.
Well, he runs a shock. Well, his blog has turned to, I guess you would call a shock blog. Like, to get viewers, he's got to come up with something shocking every week.
Right.
And so now he's just like, he just says something inflammatory. He says what a lot of people already know, except tries to make it as inflammatory as possible. So, I mean, Thunderfoot has its own problems, but the whole back and forth they were doing, it wasn't helping anyone.
Right.
And it had nothing to do with anything. And I kind of wish, like, please stop talking. Let's get back to the important issues. We're talking, do gods exist? Do specific gods exist? Is the evolutionary model the correct one, or is there something better? Did the Big Bang really happen? Do we really have all this evidence? Let's talk about these issues. We're never going to stop talking about them. We might as well just kind of hammer them home and get a good base, a place where people can kind of like something like Talk Origins. We can go and have all this information at your fingertips, and instead they're shitting all over each other over stuff that just isn't that important.
Right. Like the stuff that I don't get, and I'm not into, and I don't know anything like, I don't get the feminist movement where the PZ Myers, and that's where Thunderfoot had the big fallout, was over feminism or something. Because
there was they call it elevator gate. I really don't like this whole gate business. Like, Watergate was it, right? Everyone else, all the other ones that have come after don't even come close to what Nixon did. Please stop.
Was it about just Thunderfoot not agreeing with PZ Myers? Just saying.
Well, if I remember correctly, it started with Rebecca Watson and a guy.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And her response to it was, honestly, it wasn't that bad. I think she went a little too far, but not enough to really raise any ire. But then people made bad comments. She made responses. Then Richard Dawkins had to say something, and that's when the shit hit the fan.
Right.
And so, like the theorists are now, flat earthers and Earth racists, the community started kicking their own asses. Let's talk about this rather than anything interesting.
Right. How much?
Is it okay? Is it not okay to proposition someone in an elevator? I say sure, as long as she says no, you don't rape her.
Right.
That's good. He didn't rape her. He didn't follow her. Didn't stalk her. As far as I know, he was like, all right. No was the answer.
Yeah, that was, to me, I found that weird, because I've propositioned people in the elevator all the time.
He propositions me all the time without success.
But so I don't get that part. Like, I'm like, that is not that means I like you. If no one, like, I've had gay guys come on to me, you know that, right?
Well, yeah.
And I've always found that flattering.
How can they not?
But
I could find like the choice of location wasn't good.
Yeah, like when we're in,
maybe if he did it on the floor. But then again, I mean, people who know, like, who do any kind of dating in public, you got to pull him away from the herd. So, hey, that was his shot. He got her alone for a minute. Hey, by the way, you want to have coffee in my room?
Right.
Yeah. So I don't get that part. Like, I just thought, I don't know, that's just a little much there, and I just thought, I don't know, people are fucking weird. You can't even.
How much of that sort of that infighting, for lack of a better word, amongst fellow atheists, do you think is just to get listeners, viewers?
Well, see, I had no idea that he didn't like. I like Devin Tracy. I had no idea that I thought JD would be like, oh, great guy, but he's like, no, and then I understand what he's saying.
Yeah, and I kind of
I could see the big rift between the two. How about Mel Brooks?
Blazing Saddles.
Okay, Gus Bellinger.
Exquisite douchebag.
Oh, that's a good one.
I don't know if I've heard those two words together before.
No, he's all right.
It.
Well, he's good.
This is the first thing that came to mind.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
He's such an asshole, but it's in such a funny way you don't care.
Huh.
Gman.
That was my word.
That was it, eh? Yep.
That's it.
Yep, that's good.
Cliff Jumper.
That's gonna take a while. Trying to think of one word to sum up Cliff Jumper. Yeah, I got nothing. Sorry, Cliff. It's something positive. There's just so many different ones. I can't choose.
Sweet funny. That's what I get from him.
That would work. How about this one? Too tall.
Too tall. How is he?
He's like 6'3", 6'4".
Oh, really?
There's a video where he's going up and accosting Jason Burns. I don't know if you know him.
Jason Burns, I've seen him go up against Alex Botton. Is that the one?
Yeah, Alex Bond, he had a debate with D. Pierre
Yes.
Jones once, which was just embarrassing. He plagiarized like the entire thing. Anyway, he's been of little note recently. There's a lot of little bits of stories we could talk. We could basically fill a whole show just talking about him. But there's a video where Cliff, they both live in Britain, and
Right.
he went down to where Jason Burns preaches, and he was accosting. He wasn't like fighting. He was accusing him of some things that he had done, like how dare you do this, and from the video, it looks like he must be standing on someone's shoulders looking down at him, because Jason apparently is 5 foot, 3 foot 2. He's
Right.
just a little bit of a guy, and Cliff is just towering over him. I can see why Jason might be a little scared, like, oh my God.
I had no idea that he was that bad. I thought he was a little pudgy guy, but now you're like, wow.
He's a little, Jason Burns is a little pudgy guy. Cliff is just towering over the guy.
All right, and Alex Botton. One or two words.
I'm trying. It's hard. I can get in a phrase. Initial side 10 ass kicker. He was the first person to really take side 10 Runecape.
He did beat the shit out of him. He did.
He was one of the earliest. He was one of the first people to do it, if memory serves.
Mm-hmm.
When I first started hearing about the presuppositional argument, it was through Alex Bott. He's kind of pulled back from the community and doesn't really take much interest. He'll occasionally come on and poke fun at Gman or Ronnie, but he doesn't. He kind of stays out of it in general now.
Yeah.
But back early on in the community, he was the first one. He had side 10 and Eric Hogan them on a show, and he was the first one to really try to delve deep into what's wrong with the arguments he was using.
Right. He did a great job. I mean, I've had him on the show. We've had him on the show.
Yep.
He's a really nice guy.
Yes.
Steve Shives.
I've got a few of them. None of them are good enough for, or polite enough for air.
No, that's fine. Fuck, don't worry.
Go ahead.
Dude, there's
Don't think much of the guy.
I'll be.
Oh, the fouler and the viler language, the better. It's totally good. Whatever you want.
Well, I want to be slightly politically correct, but I'm just like,
Okay.
fucking vagina man. I mean, it's
Vagina man. Yes, that's
such,
exactly what I have written down here.
Social justice douchebag. He's fallen so deep into that. I can't watch him anymore.
Yeah, it is kind of painful. Did you see the video where he's sitting there with his wife, and his wife, he's talking about being Buffy or something about who would I be in this show, this vampire show, and the wife just kind of took his balls off of him and kind of like, it was just brutal. It was just like
He wanted to be Buffy?
he was saying like, who am I in this show? Like Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Okay,
Who
so
would I be in this?
One of the characters?
You're
Yeah.
dead vampire 004.
Yeah, it's just
the
something.
state.
And she was like, "You're sexist because look at your awful albums." And he's just like he is a vagina man. Like he's just like so that was kind of brutal. How about Matt?
Well, he's another person who's been on, kind of like Devin Tracy, has gone around just blocking everyone who disagrees with him now. Like, oh, well, he'll just come with some derogatory reason. He'll just make something up like, well, I don't want to hear you, so I'll just say that you hate women, and then I'll block you.
Right.
And apparently the list is getting very, very long at this point.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
Devin Tracy's. And the thing is, it annoys me because I'm used to theists doing that. I'm used to fundamentalists who can't handle criticism. I like to think that, all atheists are skeptics, and they criticism. Not only can they handle criticism, but they welcome it. Like, thank you, tell me why I'm wrong, explain in detail. And but clearly there is a difference between not believing gods and being a skeptic, someone who questions, who doubts in an understandable way. Like, there are reasons to doubt these things. I need a certain amount of evidence before I'll believe certain claims, and there's a whole methodology to how I do this. Like, if you a mundane claim, I'll accept mundane evidence. Extraordinary claim, accept extraordinary evidence, and try to avoid fallacious reasoning. And I always assumed, or at least early on, I kind of assumed that atheists were all like that, and it turns out that's just not the case. There are plenty of atheist douchebags out there, or atheist idiots.
That's what.
There are people who are atheists for very bad reasons.
Yeah.
Like anyone who says, like, well, I'm an atheist because I'm not a Christian anymore. Like, whoa, that's it?
But
Yeah.
isn't it that Sorry, go on, Mark.
That's what confused me. I mean, I would Skylar Fiction we had on the show, and he was great, and he has almost every view that you're like you were talking about, a rational thinker, but he won't concede that he's going to dismiss the idea of that there is some kind of superior being. And apart from that, with everything else,
I thought he was a complete atheist, and then
and he'll
No, he's a deist.
Yeah.
I think he'd be the first to tell you that it's more of an intuitive belief than it's something that he claims to do.
yeah,
Yes.
it's written on his heart. He said.
yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the things. I can understand some people. They need a little faith, or they're okay with just a little bit of faith. I think his is a sort a deist God that pays no mention makes really no difference in your daily life. You know, you don't have there's no immortality of the spirit. There's no list of rules to believe. Well, I think something intelligent made me. I don't know what it is.
Right.
But everything seems to fit with that. That's what I see intuitively, and I don't have much to argue against that.
Yeah, me
Except
too.
when
I don't know.
Rocky's around, in which case I give her shit for it because it's fun.
Yeah,
Right.
like that's where I don't. I mean, when I listened to him talk, I thought for sure this guy is a theist.
Yeah.
An atheist. I thought for sure he's an atheist, just the way he talked. And he actually did a great job against Matt Slick. Don't Strom. He was a great video of him going up against him. And
Matt was
that
pissed.
yeah, like he at the end of it, he's like, "Hey, I'm not even like, didn't you guys hear me? I'm not an atheist." And I just thought, but you're arguing like one, So it kind of threw me off.
It threw them
called
off.
him functionally atheist.
Yeah,
which I thought was
functionally
funny.
atheist. But here's the thing.
Well, there's an issue. The thing is, there's I almost wish I was dishonest enough to say I was a deist even if I wasn't, because there's a certain tactical advantage.
Yes.
Because so many arguments by evangelicals focus on attacking or proving deism to disprove atheism.
Right.
And so all of that goes out the window. I mean, the Kalam goes out the window. All this stuff goes out the window. It's like, well, I believe in God too. I just don't think I think what you're talking about is not it.
Right.
And so they have to. I think it's very frustrating for Matt Slick because deism is not something you're used to dealing with.
Yeah.
Paganism, you might be able to at least say, well, that's a false religion or something. But what if they're not religious but still believe in God, which is what deism would be?
Well, do you ever see like I just had his fucking name in my head. David Silverman, where he's coming out with a new book, and he said that atheists would be a lot stronger instead of just saying like there's so many. Everybody says, well, I'm an atheist or I'm an agnostic. I think the way it works is out of a chart. They believe that 5% are atheists, but in reality, it's like 25% because there's people that say that they're non-believers. There's people that call themselves free thinkers.
There's a stigma attached to the word atheist, right?
Yeah, but people say
specifically in America, there's a stigma, and most, if in Europe, no one cares. Like, you're an atheist? Oh, okay, yeah, so am I.
Yeah, but he says the atheist community would be so much stronger if they would just call themselves atheists instead of calling themselves, all these other words, because when they come up with the percentage, the chart, they sit there and they think that atheists are so small when actuality atheists are pretty big. Yeah, like they're not 5%. They're actually 20 to 25% of the population.
Right.
So that
I've actually speculated that. For all I know, there could be as many as like half Americans are atheists,
Right.
without just, or I should say, at least apatheists, in that they just, while they say they're Christians, they don't do any of the things you would expect someone who really believes hell is real that they would do.
Right.
Right.
They act immorally. They don't go to church. They don't pray.
Right.
And, if you ask them, they're Christians, but they don't even go on Christmas and Easter. In fact, most of my fiance's family kind of fall into that category. Like, yeah, we're Catholics. Like, do you go to church? No. What about on Christmas? Nah.
Yeah, I know.
They don't do any things, but they still self-identify as Catholic.
Yeah.
And I think I like that. I like the idea of secular Christians, or just atheist Christians, because they have that for Jewish people. There are quite a few people who are very big into being Jewish, but don't actually believe any of the
Just the
Jewish
cultural
metaphysics.
Yeah. They like the food.
So if
I don't know why.
what do you think of word to describe Aaron Ra?
Stop lactheism.
Stomp lactheism? What's that mean?
Stop lactheism.
That's lactheism. He is a pretty strong advocate of atheists having no burden of justification. The lactheist definition. I like Aaron Ra. He's great. I had a talk with him recently, and great guy. I love his stuff on science. The problem is he's a little too philosophically, I don't want to say naive, but just not educated in it, or just not interested in being educated in it. And so he does occasionally in talks, he'll blunder on philosophical stuff that atheists would just be like, yes, that's a thing. Doesn't matter though.
Right.
I've speculated on the reasons for that. I think he just doesn't care. He's got better things to do than worry about it. I think it would help him if you did, but the last few times I've talked to him, he's had several arguments with philosophers, atheist philosophers, I'd say, on things like what does it mean to be an atheist? Is there a burden of justification? Or the big one is, does he have any presuppositions? Is it okay to presuppose things? And he's against it, and he just doesn't really have a leg to stand on. He just doesn't understand these things. People have tried to explain to him, and it's not getting through.
Right.
That said, I love the guy. His Foundational Falsehoods, number 10, I think I've seen it a dozen times. I link it to people constantly. It's his one on taxonomy. It's brilliant. It explains it beautifully. It explains especially how it's a problem for creationism beautifully. Like, well, here's this whole segment here. Apparently, when you get to this point in the tree, everything that follows has the opening for the anus form before the opening for the mouth.
Right.
And that constitutes pretty much everything that has a spinal column. Now, why would that be the case if you have a creator? No creator would need to do that. That's not necessary. Why would it look exactly like what you would expect if we share common ancestry? Why does it look like that? Why would a designer want it to look like common ancestry when it isn't?
Yeah. Right.
So, yeah, great stuff. I like that he's now making a living at it. I do wish he would take more philosophical stuff on board. Not that he needs to make a living off it, but I think he'd benefit. But all in all, great guy.
Yeah. I love the guy. I really do. Now, if you were doing a debate with Matt Slick, and after the debate, when no one's around, if he came on to you, right, would you tell anybody? You know what I mean? Like, would you sit there and go, remember when he talked about being gay, how wrong it is, and he when somebody said gay, he said, well, why not, brother and sister? Why not? Like he puts that in the same category as being gay.
You'd have to out him in front of a bunch of people.
Would you ever out him? Like if he ever came on, like if you saw him, like just say a buddy, a gay guy saw him at a gay bar and said, by the way.
I mean, I guess I'd have to say it depends. I'll give you some scenarios. If he asked me, if he did it, was embarrassing, he asked me not to say anything, I wouldn't say anything. I might say something to my fiance, just for those obvious reasons.
Right, but if he was like,
everybody,
he was like, listen.
However, if he did not say that, I like most people, I take great pleasure in exposing hypocrisy. So if he did not warm me up, if he did not specifically say, please don't tell anyone this, I would tell everyone this.
Just to be clear, though, we're not saying that he's gay. Even
no,
he's
not. I don't
totally gay.
But I don't.
Totally gay.
But I could see him do that.
I'm not saying he's gay. I'm just saying he likes to suck cock.
Yeah,
totally. Yeah.
You suck one dick, and all of a sudden you're a fag.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying.
What the hell? I mean, what's the cutoff? 3, 4? Come on. One is not enough.
So I don't know. Like that would kind of throw you off, but you'd be like, I don't know if I would tell people.
He's the guy who had the drugs. Of course, I had to tell him.
And then, do you think we're better off? This is the second last question. Do you think we're better off now, or when they say, like, do you think the world's getting better or worse? Like, they always go, the good old days.
How are things now versus how are things going to be? I think things were worse before. I think they're better now. I think they're going to get much, much, much worse.
You think so? And why is that?
This is actually not specifically about religion. I think religion is going to continue to decline in first world countries. Hopefully, it'll be small enough that we don't have to worry about countries blowing us up over Allah or anything. But I think we're moving in a good direction. First world countries clearly becoming more and more secular. Even America, which was the exception, you can now see that the trend is growing. However, I think, For other things, I think the oil is running out faster than anyone wants to admit.
Right.
And all of the alternatives to oil require oil in their manufacture.
Right.
So we're going to be down to horses and buggies at some point, except the problem is that we need that electricity to make enough food to feed the world. So we're going to have, half the population just suddenly starve to death when the oil runs out or oil starts seriously getting declined. I also worry about wars breaking out because oil is one of those things that people will go to war over.
Right.
As we see, well, we did that in a sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think things are probably going to get much worse. That's not avoiding, the issues with superbugs are becoming a bigger and bigger issue as antibiotics become more and more plentiful and people misuse them more and more often.
Right.
I have this theory that intelligence is overall going to turn out to be a negative mutation, that it's actually not helpful to survival. That it looks that way now in the short term, but evolution doesn't care about, a couple, 1,000 years, 2,000, 10,000 years. It cares about millions of years. It cares about long spans of time. Or is this line going to keep going and going and going?
Right.
Or is there going to be something that cuts it off? I have this kind of dark hypothesis that it's going to get us all wiped out at some point. Like all these antibiotics we're using to try and, the fact that we're keeping the weakest of us alive, we're kind of stopping evolution in its tracks. Unless we master genetics, I think we're getting to the point where we're going to do something stupid enough that's going to kill enough people that we're not going to keep going.
Right.
That's just the pessimist. That's the pessimist in me. I of course hope that's not the case. I hope everyone,
Me too, but I think
keeps going till the sun goes out.
I think the same thing. I know exactly what you mean about the oil. That is kind of fucking scary. I watched that and I just think, yeah, something. Just you got this sickening feeling where you're just going, yeah, just we're using way too much and we're gonna run out. Now, what do you miss? What is one thing you miss?
What do you mean?
You could ask. Like what? Anything you miss. Like it could be the DQ menu, or it could be like something as a child you grew up. Like what do you miss? Like do you miss anything? Like skateboards? I don't know. What is something that you just miss?
I miss my maternal grandfather.
Oh yeah. I miss my grandma. Yeah.
He died at a year before his 95th birthday.
Right.
And he was just the most amazing man I've ever met. He was kind and generous and smart and funny and just one of those people who just never raised his voice, never curse. Just always a great person. Always had good. He's the one who kind of gave my mother and then by extension me our moral compass, which I think is a very good one. I've never been accused of being immoral.
Right.
Well, not to say I haven't done things that are immoral, but it's just not a common thing. Things like the Golden Rule and other. I kind of got my moral compass from him, and he was just a very moral man. Worked like a dog his whole life, and just was a great person. He died of it's like his third heart attack or something mundane. But he lived 95, so I got some good genes in me.
Anybody?
Interestingly, I believe it was like 8 or 9 years later, his wife finally died at 101.
Whoa!
On the exact same day.
Oh wow!
That he died. I like to say that my grandfather came by to pick her up.
Oh, that's cool.
It's one of those things where I know that he's not around. He's simply, he's not. He's gone. He's not in some happy place, which is unfortunate. If anyone deserves something like that, it would be him.
Right.
But I still like to indulge in the fantasy every once in a while because it's a really pleasant thought.
Yeah, it's anybody who has grandparents and can enjoy their grandparents is lucky.
Yeah, for
Really.
sure. Now, if you had now that screws up the last question. If you had a time machine, what would you do? If you had a time machine, you could only go back once.
I wouldn't do a damn thing. I know better.
That's the remark of a content person right there.
You wouldn't go back to just like any. You could go back. I'm talking that I asked Aaron Raw, and he's like, "I'll go back to the fucking Ice Age," and I just thought, "Holy the premium."
Well, if I could avoid the ripple effects of any actions, then that's interesting. Where would I go? See, as a fellow big fan of Doctor Who, there are so many options.
Yeah.
I can't pinpoint like one event I would definitely want to see. Maybe the fall of the Roman Empire. That'd be fascinating.
Yeah, but that didn't happen overnight. You'd have to hang out for a little bit.
Yeah, well, I can be there a while, right? You know, give me a couple decades. I'll see the ending bits.
Bring a toga.
It's kind of like watching a depressing movie, though. It's like waiting for the. It's like
kind of like this show right
let's
now.
Let's go.
Fuck.
Let's go.
Well, it's not so bad. I'm gonna side with the Berserker, so it's all good. My side's winning. Woohoo!
What do you make of this crap in the universities with the whole everybody wanting a safe space and the trigger warnings? What do you think of all that shit?
That's fucking stupid.
Okay, so yeah, nobody I've asked has said I think
well,
it's
as
great.
comics, have you heard the issues with the comedy circuit in colleges where
Yeah.
they would have to be so impossibly clean that it's
Jerry's
all needed to get the jokes, even though it's so profitable.
Jerry Seinfeld won't do it.
I can't.
They probably wouldn't invite him. I was reading an article. It's been a little while now, but they're saying only the cleanest of clean comics are invited because they want to make sure not to offend anybody. Because the alternative is then you have people like Doug Stanhope who telling you that God doesn't exist.
Right.
People just saying motherfucker every few words. They're funny as hell, but if anyone gets it there, it puts such a premium on not offending people, and so the jokes have to be just so clean and banal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that's frustrating. Humor should be risky.
Yeah, exactly. It should be vanilla.
One of my favorite comics of all time is Bill Hicks.
Yeah.
Who he would always push the boundary. If you ever heard his bit on Rush Limbaugh,
yeah,
you're not sure whether to laugh or throw up, but it's wonderful.
He was
pushed as far to the edge, and he gets his point across, and that was actually his goal. He really wanted to get like a political message across through comedy.
Yeah, he was bloody funny, man. I remember one summer I listened to him the whole summer. I just couldn't stop. I went camping and just thought, I don't know why, I just wanted to listen to Bill Hicks, but he just something about what I enjoy with some stand-ups is where you could go back and listen to their material and just go, that it was, it's still enjoyable, still holds up to this day.
Yeah.
Where you could go back and look at Gallagher and go, he fucking crushed a watermelon.
Yeah.
Like, you kidding me?
Give him some money.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even think, back to the Cosby, I don't even think Bill Cosby, there'd probably something in there too offensive. Like, he mentioned Noah's Ark in one of his skits. Well, you can't do that on the college circuit. That'll offend somebody.
No, yeah, I know. I mean, I played the college, the Canadian Comedy Awards 8 years ago, and they had me play Western, and it was great, but they were kind of like, these days, no way. I see the guys that they got, and I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Really? Like that is the most vanilla fucking bits, but that's what they want. They explained to either tone it down.
They spelled my name wrong at Starbucks.
Yeah, either tone it down because you're not going to get the gig. You're not. There's no way you're going to play there. Not with,
There's a drive too, because apparently it's good money.
It's beyond good. It's Canadian. Like, it's okay. It's nothing where you just sit there and think, but it is good money, but it's nowhere near what people think.
Yeah, people just. Dennis Miller said in his the rants that life is tough. Wear a cup.
Yeah.
But people who get offended at jokes, like, okay, you're offended, but I don't give a shit. All right, be offended and then get over it, because you're gonna get offended a lot in life.
Yeah,
if someone says an off-color joke that offends you, tell them, don't tell them, but don't expect that you have the right to stop them from saying it.
Right.
We stop people from yelling fire in a crowded movie theater. We don't stop them from yelling nigger in a crowded movie theater. Because while that is offensive, that is not actually like physically harming it. That's not causing a stampede. Right. So I mean, there's so many people who've gotten so much shit for saying things that are either racist or just they were just too dark comment. Like, well, why don't you stick with, hey, that wasn't funny. That's going to offend them enough already. You don't need to go further and say you should never be allowed to say it again. Like, go ahead and say it again. If you're not, you tell a comedian they're not funny, you're breaking their heart already. You don't need to go much further and try and censor them.
Let free enterprise decide.
Yeah, a person who goes up and yells nigger, like every 5 seconds in his act, and isn't black, I should say, and they're going to get crushed. No one's going to want to see them, except they'll do great with Klansmen. They're not going to get anywhere else.
That's a limited market.
Well, you'll probably notice that I actually say the word nigger rather than the N-word, because I hate that. I actually take seriously the joke from Louis C.K. where he says, now you're making me say it in my fucking head. Like, just say the fucking word. It's all about context.
Yeah.
Well,
I love racist jokes, but they have to come from someone who I know is not racist.
Well, you ever beat the shit out of a Chinese guy and not half hour later you want to beat up another one? And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the veal. Folks, we've been talking to JD Kain. He's not a Harvard grad, but very smart, intelligent guy. He's got a great show. Please check it out. He's got atheists, theists, deists, Satanists, people that think the planet's flat. He's got you name it, will be on the show. It's Talking Shit Tuesdays. Look it up on YouTube, and they're fantastic. Check them out. JD, I want to thank you. I know I've been pestering you to get you on the show, but I really appreciate you taking the time to deal with this shit. I really appreciate you being here.
Thanks a lot. We appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me on, and I just want to mention that I really did go to Harvard. Thank you very much.
You got it.
Fuck.
See, you always nail it with a good bit. So, ladies and gentlemen, my name's Vito D'Amico.
And I'm Mark Arts.
And you're listening to the Wrecking Crew Comedy Podcast. Enjoy the rest of the week.